So, hi, I'm Jeff Cole, Senior Director of Marketing for the Security Industry Association. And with me today is Lee Odess. Lee is one of the premier thought leaders in access control and Proptech. Lee, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Great. So in SIA's 2023 Security Megatrends report, the elimination of the industry's boundaries was identified as a top trend, and security as prop tech is really a key component of that change. We think it's reflective of the change in value of security. It's expanding beyond a pure protection and safety standpoint and really providing value back to the buyers of security technologies and those who are using those. So for today's video, we want to draw the connections between prop tech and security and share insights into how those boundaries are really being eliminated. So I guess let's jump into it first, Lee. It's a bit of a buzzword, so why don't we demystify the prop tech buzzword? This may be some folks' first time hearing that word. Let's talk about prop tech and what the overall intersection is with commercial real estate.
Yeah, not a problem. So I think if we first let's define prop tech of what it is, but it's just like it sounds. It's property technology. You sometimes see it called commercial tech, real estate tech, retail tech, but it's basically taking information technology and platform type technologies and applying them to the real estate marketplace. Construction tech sometimes is things like Procore, for instance. Sometimes you'll see like collaborative community spaces like WeWork or those. You'll see smart real estate like tenant engagement applications. And security is one of those core tenant utilities of not only property technology, but then also overall functioning of a building. And really, if you want to think about it in a lot of ways, it's the application of enterprise software into really any type of technology that's being applied to real estate.
Gotcha. Well, in last year in the fall, SIA, through your leadership as the chair of our PropTech Advisory Board, delivered a really premier report on the PropTech market for the security industry. Let's talk about what were some of the key findings that were in that report that came out last fall.
Yeah, I think some of the key findings are sometimes it's what you hear is a little bit not surprising, but security being a very critical part. But then I would also say it's somewhat wildly misunderstood or misrepresented in a lot of ways because it's sort of I think getting a different seat at the table than it was before. Some other things that were there was like this need for interoperability from our systems. That's a real high one and an ask. We had some one-on-one interviews as well as group surveys through a survey tool, and really that the entire idea of integration and interoperability and the systems working. I think what that shows is forever our systems were, a strength of it was being isolated on its own as a critical system that, frankly, is sort of like you don't want anything bad to happen, so let's leave it, and anything that was seen as connected to it was, the risk sort of surface was larger in that case. So now, though, the need to still have that security posture, but have it function and work with other systems is mission critical, frankly, from the customer side of what they see there. The other thing that I would say that was highlighted heavily in there was the representation of those that seem to be distributing the credentialing side of it are the named recognition of understanding. So there's a branding opportunity that was presented and marketing opportunity, I think, that highlighted heavily, which, again, I think a lot of times we do these studies and we're looking for a technical sort of overview of like, it needs to be a 32-bit whatever. And when it comes down to it is you can clearly see there's an opportunity for our industry to tell a different story to that community because frankly, they don't really know who the people are that they are supposed to contact or call or what products are out there, any of that type of stuff. So it was a clear opportunity that we saw. So critical infrastructure piece, the need for integration and interoperability, and a great branding marketing opportunity for those that do.
So you kind of talked about some of the pain points of interoperability. And in terms of what commercial real estate managers and property owners are facing these days, what are some of the other things that they're facing as they're looking to solve with technology, whether it's opportunities or pain points that they're facing, even whether it's interfacing with their tenants or getting data out of their systems.
Yeah, so those are two good ones. On that case,
Yeah.
I had recently a very large developer tell me that they're no longer in the construction industry of, office spaces. They're in the hospitality market, and there's this new engagement that they have to have with their users. So I think it's an example of they're in flux, frankly, coming out of the pandemic. I mean, you read anything about the commercial real estate marketplace and people going back to work and things like that. There's an evolution happening within their product, which then in turn sort of flows downhill to our products too, because our stuff goes inside of their buildings. So the usage of what has, I would say, historically been, again, a single utility that was keeping bad people out is being asked to do a lot more. And with that, there's the need to really take a new view of the expectations that the systems have, while being seated in security, which is the great opportunity for us as an industry to command the space that we occupy, which is centered in security with the ability to add beyond that, as an area. I would say the other thing is all of a sudden everybody's a visitor at this point. It was really a known entity. You had your card, you gave it to somebody, they came. If they didn't, they went to the front desk, and they had the process of visitor management. At this point, everybody coming to these buildings now, because people are either working remote and only coming in 2, 3 days, whatever it might be, there's a need now to engage with people, which again is a different experience that the systems would have. I think one of the bigger areas that we're hearing a lot of people talk about is from that engagement side. The expectation that when somebody shows up to the office, let's say, or the building, whatever it is, 2 or 3 times when they used to go all the time, the system has to work and it has to be inviting, and it's just a different experience than we've seen before. And they're looking for partners to be able to understand their use cases of what they have in the commercial real estate market, and to be able to say, hey, here's how our system can deliver what it's been delivering for the past 30 years, but here's how it can help you for the next 30.
Gotcha. One of the things that is in terms of delivering more value is just the data that comes out of these systems. Could you talk a little bit about the types of data that property managers and landlords are looking for to try to gain from access control solutions as well as the other interoperable security solutions that come into play?
Yeah, so the terms that we're hearing around this is really the system of record. And if you think about it, our industry is a system of record of people coming to a space, identifying who they are. So it's wrapped around identity. That's the biggest data opportunity, and usage would be, it's a critical understanding of who the people are, authenticated and are there, to then water flow, workflows, engagements, the ability to order lattes, do pay, whatever it might be. So the data side of the identity is I would say the first one. Then there's the anomaly type end, like things that are happening that are outside of the norms, to understand, like a door's not working, or utilizing camera data to understand usage of a room. Has it just been used? Does it need to be cleaned? Do you have an amenity space where you only want to have a certain amount of people within there, or maybe the people only want to have a certain amount of people in those spaces? So, utilization of space, and this is where you start to see, a new term being brought into this, is that prop tech is bleeding into work tech, into understanding sort of how either the operational efficiencies of the building can be increased, or the revenue generation opportunities as well, now that these spaces are being used very different. So there's a cross. If you look, and again, I go back to the source of record, is because usually that's in the pay side or like a CRM tool. Now the access control and security industry overall has a seat at that table to be able to be a source of record, to be able to bridge into those other systems. And really, it's, again, our opportunity as an industry to see that and to go make it part of what we do.
Your talk there reminded me of what member Northland Controls, see a member Northland Controls had shared with me one time. They were working on a campus-wide project. In this campus, this corporate campus, a lot of space, a lot of buildings, a lot of walk time between buildings. They were bringing in new hires, right, and grouping them together. So sales team sits together, marketing is together, et cetera. And they were actually finding that there were challenges with people getting to meetings on time if they were in another building or facility. And so they actually used the badge reach data of where folks badged into different buildings and even conference rooms to understand where were they meeting. And then they ended up in your focus on work tech, ended up sort of relooking at how they situated everyone in those buildings. So I think that's the kind of hidden value, I guess, that's in there in prop tech today.
It's the value beyond locking and unlocking. We talk about that often, and understanding also situational awareness of the space and the people, and being able to do that. I think it's another area where we can drive some added benefit of, again, if people are in the space and they're not always there, like the ability to do teaming or whatever it might be to give visibility. It's like the old boards that used to be there where you'd slide the sort of thing across that says whether you're in or out of the building. Now it's happening digitally, and frankly, in applications, the ability to communicate. There's some big tech companies that have come out with collaborative tools that also give you the ability to book office spaces and go do that. So yeah, that's all of the added benefits on top of what our industry's been doing for quite a while.
So when we talk about prop tech, we often get focused on the commercial real estate sector, but in truth, I think prop tech is moving beyond just commercial real estate office buildings. Let's talk a little bit about that. How about in the multifamily space, whether that's apartments or condo towers? What's happening there in terms of prop tech?
Yeah, I mean that's an area that is massively being sort of taken over by technology and the way people live. A lot of it's being driven by a couple areas. You're seeing the ability for like rent payment and I would say additional services around operations that was utilizing data. Now incorporating people as data points and access control being a large portion of that, it's really the bridge between the physical and the logical side, and they're seeing that happen. So with that, now you're not only getting sort of smart products being installed, but then you have platforms being put on top of them. APIs and SDK is sort of a standard that you have to have. There's typically some sort of application that's being provided on top. A lot of it's integrated all together, so it all works seamlessly, no longer having the isolation. You have what was interesting not too long ago, you almost in a lot of ways had two separate access control systems inside these buildings. You'd have the shell of the building and you'd have the doors. So it was not very often someone had a fob and a key to get into their place. They fobbed to the front to get in, they keyed to get into their door. All of that is now gone, not gone. I say that. A lot of that, especially in the A class, is gone. And then as you go down B to C, you're starting to see these systems, even at the entry level, incorporating technology now at that case. So it really has almost followed the hospitality market as one of the next verticalized technology, digital transformation, whatever term you want to use for it, where that entire model of how those systems were specified, installed, serviced, and really the expectations how they function has completely changed.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I mean, I think Steve Van Til sort of put it this way. He said, "Hey, uh, security is finally being sexy right now."
Yeah,
Prop tech,
it is. It's having a moment.
as people learn that, has made our industry sexy for once. So
Yeah, it's the desire again, space to be occupied, desire for added more value. The revenue opportunities of this are much greater. I do believe we're starting to see the sort of the collaboration of convenience and security, where again before everything that was considered convenient was considered insecure. Now you're starting to see that that's not so true anymore.
yeah, and being shaped with mobile credentials and the adoption of phones to unlock doors. Definitely seeing that happen on the university and the campus university space happen fast. Just the
Yeah.
age, I think the age value there. So
Well, there's a belief that if you capture so if you think about it, our industry forever, in a lot of cases, especially I would say access control, video, a lot of these that went through the channel, the end user was really the building operator, and it was never the actual end user because they would get a card or a fob. We kind of didn't know who they were. So that stakeholder, we never had to really worry about. Now, all of a sudden, with the introduction of the phone, you're seeing a new stakeholder. It's one of the biggest things that's happening with prop tech. The the influence of prop tech into our industry. And there's a belief that if I get to students and I can take them from the beginning of their sort of journey, if you would, from on campus housing to off campus housing to apartments to their job to buying a house to where they, you can go on and on and on. They're comfortable using phones from the beginning. There's not a lot of having to convince them, like say maybe some baby boomers or older, to where they're maybe a little bit more convincing that, hey, you need to go, here's now how you interact with your space. So there's a belief that's there, and it is true. I mean, if you follow where pay by phone is happening, right behind that is access control in the security industry.
Yeah. So, oh, this has been great. So let's close with a little talk about what SIA's Proptech work. So we talked about the Proptech market report that came out last year. It's available on SIA's website for purchase. We've got the Proptech Advisory Board, which you chair. Can you just say a little bit about that and how folks can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. You get involved by contacting myself or Edison Chen, who helps in leading the group. So basically, we have three areas. We have networking, thought leadership, and education. Those are the three committees, and within those, we have initiatives throughout them. One of the biggest ones that we do is every month we bring in an external speaker to come in, somebody from the prop tech, commercial real estate, industrial, office space, whatever, multifamily. We've had a couple multifamily at this point. They come and they speak for an hour to the group, and it's really been wonderful because it's sort of an open forum to have a discussion. It's moderated by one of the 80 members of our group, and it really they do open up and give you the opportunity to talk. So that happens. A lot of writing and opportunities. So whether it's blog posts, video creation, that's where the thought leadership comes in. So we've done a handful of one-on-ones where one of our missions is to bridge into not only our own industry of bringing prop, but bridge into the PropTech community so that there's more visibility to what security can offer to them. We also have shows and trade shows and conferences, the ability to present and speak. We come together as a group there as well. So lots of opportunities, and really it's member driven in a lot of ways. So if somebody wants to focus on industrial real estate and they want to talk about how technology and security is impacting, really, I don't care. It could be quick retail, like quick restaurants, quick serve restaurants. That's what they're called. It's really open to what everybody wants to go do on that end, and we do. We speak here a lot about access control, but we have video, we've got data, we've got all sorts of people within our industry, both from the integrator, end user, and also distribution, and also from the manufacturing side. So it's a potpourri of people interested in the prop tech community.
That's a great point. It's definitely not just about access control and badges, and it's really transformed. So if you're interested in the group, again, reach out to Lee or reach out to Edison Shin on the SIA staff. Get involved. It's, my experience has been a very incredible group, very open and forward moving in it. Well, Lee, thanks for coming on, and for all our viewers, hope this helped you learn a little bit about prop tech and where that side of the market's going. Lee, thanks again.
Thank you for the opportunity, Jeff.